On the weekend of April 21st, 2017, in the small Rust Belt town of Lebanon, Ohio, a very important experiment took place. It was 6 months since the election, and the animosity, alienation, and division between Trump and non-Trump supporters had continued to intensify and fragment the community. This is the story of what happened that April and how it has affected the culture and tone of our society ever since.
We got American pride. We stand side by side.
Governor John Kasich has a warning about Ohio's economy, noting the state is on the verge of a recession. Many people in this dying town are struggling to survive, which is why they see Donald Trump as the savior.
I love Don Trump. A lot of people don't, and I think it's not his personality. He's a man that has given his life for his country, if you think about it, and that's why I love him.
Factories have been closing down left and right, so I've seen a lot of forced retirements, a lot of forced layoffs, while the government is just taking over and it just needs to quit. We need our jobs back.
I've had the door slammed in my face. I've had people say very rude things about Obama and ask if I voted for him.
I feel like racism is back again. I feel like it's popular to be dumb.
This political dirty trick with a pile of manure dumped at the Warren County Democratic headquarters has received national attention.
It's scary. It's scary for me and it's scary for my children.
ABC and NBC, those two networks projecting that Donald Trump has won the state of Ohio with 18 electoral votes.
Donald Trump's most ardent supporters, they expected that he was going to win. They didn't believe the national polls.
God bless America. We're American proud.
Thank you, Ohio. Thank you very much.
Right now, we are in a culture that is completely defined by polarization.
As a mental health professional for over 40 years, I've never seen anything like the amount of stress entering people's bodies, entering their minds, entering their families. There are people who, after major new announcements, immigration would be a good example, not sleeping.
You don't come and talk about America when you're supporting Muslims.
They're already cleaning up the graffiti that reads, Nazi Republicans, leave town or else.
We consistently saw among both liberals and conservatives a lot of mistrust of the media. One thing they agree on is they're not being well served by the media when it comes to understanding one another.
My biggest concern is the divide. We are so far apart, and it's hard to communicate and get along and understand each other.
Sometimes to speak to an atheist or a person that's not conservative, have the same beliefs as me, a person of a different color. It's sometimes I want to talk to them, but I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. Right now, I kind of feel afraid to open my mouth.
We wanted to see if it was possible for people who had just voted for Trump or just voted for Clinton to spend a weekend talking to one another in a good way. We met in the barn of the guy who was the local Tea Party founder, and he has a great band, the Richard Lynch Band, country band. And he was a generous guy and let us use his barn. We didn't know if it would be successful. We just wanted to try something. It felt like after the election, it felt like we were entering a kind of a crisis phase in the country.
We're going to begin with introductions, and then why you accepted the invitation to come here for this weekend.
The day after the election, I called my friend, and no return call. And they didn't talk to me for over a week, over an election. And I couldn't believe, I really thought that this friendship that we had had for 20 years was just gone out the window because I voted for one candidate and she voted for another. And I can't understand that. And that scares me about our country more than anything.
I came because I want to understand how a country that voted for Obama twice went so far to the other side. I want to understand and be confident that Americans aren't racist, sexist, anti-intellectual. I'm tired of kind of being tired of feeling so uncomfortable in my own community.
I am a constitutionalist. Some people call me a conservative. But what got me here is I have grandchildren, 5 of them. I had 3 sons. They don't have a future if we don't get this pulled together. I think us Americans need to take our country back. I really do.
The reason I'm here is I feel there is so much anger and separation. We let one thing, our political beliefs, divide us and make us call each other names and think each other is crazy and don't seem to care about each other.
I'm on the blue team. I'm unapologetically a liberal.
I feel like I'm in enemy territory.
The most important ground rule we ask people to agree on is that we're here to explain ourselves and to listen to others, not to try to get other people to change their minds.
Bill and a couple of other really smart people figured out that you could take the tools that come out of helping families in conflict to help a society in conflict.
We begin with a stereotypes exercise in which people in separate groups, in separate rooms, are asked to generate the most common false, misleading, exaggerated stereotypes of their own side. And what that does is it gets out early all of the worst stuff anybody ever says about this.
Rednecks. They think we're all non-college graduates. I hear that so often.
Takers. Okay, we're takers. What is that? Say a little bit about
Moochers, we're, they want free stuff.
Moochers want free stuff.
Hating immigrants, afraid of difference.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Exclusive.
Yes, not inclusive.
So under baby killers, it's the idea that being pro-choice means that you favor abortion. Means that
The racist and homophobic, that's one big label for us.
I don't agree with that. I think anti-women is what they think we really are.
Arrogant.
I think the intellectually superior is a little more of a dig. I think that's of their perception.
They think you have no moral foundation.
Right,
no moral foundation.
Godless.
Okay.
Each group listed that these are the stereotypes the other side has of us, and this is why these stereotypes are misleading and why they make us angry.
I'm presenting on behalf of the Blue Group. Thank you. I agree. This is very complex. We identified what we felt were our top 4 stereotypes of liberals, of blue people that were takers, that were godless, and that we are baby killers because there is a tolerance of birth control and abortion, and that we are unpatriotic. So those are the 4 big stereotypes that we feel that we get cast on by the red folks. With regard to takers, there are a lot of blue folks, liberals, who are very hard workers and who make a lot of very strong contributions to society. In terms of godless, just because we don't read the Bible, there's kind of an assumption that we don't have a moral foundation. To say that we are pro-choice is not to say that we are pro-abortion. Abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. And we believe in supporting women in their choice to control their own bodies. Democrats love our country, and we want to make things better, and sometimes that is to endeavor to change things and to criticize things, and that is patriotic. We're done.
We now will have Keith for the red group.
So we start with racist. Definitely there are some racists among us. Most of us are not racist. This is an unfair accusation. We care about the issues. That's what we criticize. We're not racist. We care about the issues. Homophobic. Now, this is a kind of a complicated one for us. We don't feel that we are afraid of homosexuality. We don't understand it necessarily all the time. As individuals, for example, I have a brother who's a homosexual. And I love him. I take care of him because he's also has Alzheimer's, so I'm his caretaker. I love my brother. I always have. It's a free country. They can be that, and I don't criticize them. Personally, I think it's wrong. A lot of us think it's wrong. However, we don't discriminate. We're called rednecks. I mean, you hear that all the time. We're rednecks. We're non-college graduates. Most of us have gone to college in the red group. And we are not rednecks. We're just like everybody else. So this is an unfair label. We are not intolerant of immigrants. Absolutely not. We're intolerant of illegal immigration. And if we can control the borders, that's all we want to do. We want to let the good immigrants in, not the bad guys.
Afterwards, the question for the whole group was, what did you learn about how the other side sees themselves?
That the red side did acknowledge that racism and homophobia are real issues among some, that there is a diversity of attitudes.
It's a blend, as is the Blue Party. I know racists too, and guess what? They're blue. So you got the good and the bad of both sides. You got the good and the bad.
Well, you guys seem to have discussed that homophobic is the largest topic. It's the biggest on your sheet, correct? So to me, that was the most large discussed topic. To me, that was honestly the most offensive topic, because I myself, as a gay male, I have a family. I would love to have a child, but to those others, I can't adopt. We just want you to accept us. We want you to appreciate us as another person, as a human, as an American.
So I'll accept that as your powerful personal statement on that.
I just all of a sudden became surprised. Something just hit me. You are, is the right word gay, or you're a gay man, you want to have a child, or you would like to be able to adopt, but in general, there are millions of babies not being allowed.
So you have very strong feelings as well.
To be born. I don't understand that. I'm surprised how that chemistry works. I don't get it.
It's confusing to you.
It is very confusing.
Okay. So let's just take that as another heartfelt statement.
Got it.
That's from your heart.
No harm intended to anyone.
That's from your heart.
Yeah.
2 heartfelt statements. Okay. Well, we have begun. Okay. So we'll take about 45 minutes for lunch. Okay?
Thank you.
Can I give you a hug, man? You're a beautiful person.
Isn't that confusing, though?
I know. I hear you. And I just wanted you to be able to say it just that way from your heart, okay? The next exercise is the fishbowl exercise, in which we have people, let's say the blue starting in the middle, with the red sitting around, chairs on the outside. And so it allows people on the outside of the circle, outside of the fishbowl, to take some notes and just say, what am I learning from these folks? So here is the first question. What leads you to oppose the current president and his administration's policies and actions, and what do you stand for instead?
I oppose his actions on health care. I personally am for a single-payer system. However, I think that the Affordable Care Act made a lot of strides. I know a lot of people that were covered through the Affordable Care Act for the first time ever, and that are very concerned about changes that are being proposed.
I have a son who is can't work, and he didn't have insurance for years, so he's got degenerative spine disease. It got worse. He now has the ACA. He is able to get pain medication. It would cost him over $1,000 a month. He's getting it for $20 a month.
Okay, so how about another issue that is of importance to this group?
I'll pick one: immigration.
Okay.
Right? To say that a wall is somehow going to eliminate all of that, the drugs in this country, yeah, they're coming in from Mexico, but they're also coming in from a lot of other places, and people are growing it here and making it here.
The notion of demonizing foreigners is disheartening and very disappointing.
A mother of four with a special needs child was just deported back to Mexico. To me, it is the antithesis of what our country stands for.
Another issue that is very important to me, and I'm very scared about it, is this whole business of conflict of interest with the administration. We don't know any decision that he makes is because of the best interest of the country or is because of the best interest of him and his surrogates.
Trump's never had any political background of any case. He knows nothing going in, and knowing nothing going in is never good for anybody. That's why they give you teachers in school.
That healthcare was complicated.
He thinks he should just be able to come in and just sign something and everybody bows down and it happens. And that's not how our system is designed.
Okay, let's shift to the question about your concerns or reservations about the positions or actions of leaders on your side.
I'm concerned with the tit for tat, right? Democrats who I think potentially can just try to stonewall and be as difficult to work with as they feel like, the Republicans were. How can we collaborate and compromise, and it's not just about payback?
Socialism, as far as I'm concerned, is not a dirty word. They're not willing to tell the American people the truth that we have a mixed economy. Our economy is partly socialistic and partly capitalistic, and that is a good thing.
Let's finish up and we'll switch sides. Okay, outside in. What leads you to support the current president and his administration's policies and actions?
One of the reasons I supported Trump was actually one of the things I heard that people were opposed to him, that he had no political experience. I think that is a major attribute. We need to make government smaller, not bigger.
There's no reason not to run the government like a business.
Part of it, it's just right down my alley. Pro-life, against globalism, immigration reform, help veterans. You could just go on and on and on, and these are everything that we need.
Our military wasn't as strong as it used to be, and I just felt that we were on the verge of inviting, conflict on our own shores.
He's opening up job markets for those who have education and help with people that don't have education to get to where they need. I have 2 college degrees, and I'm living off $150 without any state help, but I'd like to be able to work where I feel I'm worth.
So let's go to the other question then, is what are your concerns or reservations about the current president and his administration's policies and actions? Your concerns and reservations.
I don't think Trump and his administration really understood the problem. There's some good things about the health care plan, and one is the pre-existing conditions. They just saw an avalanche of, we have to get rid of this and replace it. They didn't understand it.
Okay. Trump doesn't bend very much.
No.
And that's my concern, is that in politics, you do have to bend, but that's a concern of mine.
Okay. Other areas.
The other thing that bothers me is the wall. We need to get the criminals and send them back home. And we need to secure the borders, but that doesn't necessarily mean spending $30 million and building a wall.
And then we come together and say, what did you learn? What did you learn about how the people see each other? What you find in common?
I found a lot of agreement from me personally with those comments that came from the red side.
From Jean, her comment about the wall, about the practicalities and the affordabilities, nugget of common ground, hopefully.
George Jorge said, and that is, a country can be, or is, our country is, both socialistic and capitalistic. But the most enlightening was that the blue side realizes that the Democrats don't talk about it. It was a great thing to learn that they know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was that self-criticism, if you will. That was a theme. Yes.
I was encouraged by someone made a comment about tit for tat, that they hoped the Democrats wouldn't do that. And it was encouraging to hear that, if there are some common grounds where we can get some things done, let's get some things done.
Someone said that the focus of Trump has been to focus on the divisive issues as opposed to work on issues that could attract Democrats to participate. And I think I agree with that.
Mostly what I'm surprised by is the sense of, we can be critical of our own positions. That to me is the most interesting.
And then in the afternoon, we do an exercise in which we allow people to go deeper by developing questions of understanding. And so what we did in this workshop is we had them in separate groups to develop questions and then to, in the language I use, curate those, to go through those, clean them up. And then people leave each group, so 4 go from one group to the other, so now you have mixed groups of reds and blues. And then they deliver the questions, word for word, as written, and have a chance for follow-ups.
First question. What do you mean by the statement, women are losing their rights?
I think that their goal is to prevent women from having their full range of reproductive rights.
I don't think it's anything that has actually occurred, but it's the fear that could happen.
Do you believe that President Trump has a problem with lying?
No.
It depends.
Okay.
I guess it just really depends on what the topic is.
So you think
Yes and no.
sometimes he does lie and sometimes he doesn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
My impression is that liberals are in favor of large government. What does that mean to you?
I would want an effective government, and I don't think that liberals want a large government for the sake of the number of people that work for the government.
There are many projects, many areas that government needs to step in and help, because if we leave it into individual businesses or communities, those jobs don't get done.
Somebody in the last session over there said that Trump has already done a lot of good for people. And I wonder as to what are some examples.
He's business friendly. The market has shot up tremendously because he's America first.
How do you think we ought to handle illegal immigration?
The policy is prevent illegal immigrants from working if they're not having work authorization.
I mean, there has to be a system so that if they're here illegally and they're doing bad things, they're categorized differently than if they're here illegally doing the right thing.
How can the blue side be personally opposed to abortion and be pro-choice legally?
It is not up to me or him or anybody in this room to decide what you do. It's between you, your doctor, and God.
Nobody wants to promote abortion. What we want is to prevent unwanted pregnancies.
And this one was from me, and it's from my heart. Like, I really want to know. Admitted that there are elements of racism and homophobia in your party, and that President Trump has not necessarily repudiated these elements. How do you explain your desire to support him notwithstanding?
I've heard him say on several times that he's totally against racism.
I watched every speech Trump made. I heard him say that he supports LGBT homosexuality, gays, what he supports them. And he loves them. I think he said he loves all the people.
What do you think the U.S. role should be in the world's humanitarian situations?
The role is never enough.
On the other hand, do we want to get into another war?
Military action should be the absolute last resort with a clear path of victory.
Are you comfortable with President Trump insulting individual Americans quite often on Twitter?
No.
What do you mean?
I don't think he should be doing that.
No,
definitely shouldn't be
Alec
doing
Baldwin
that.
or
He is doing
Yeah.
it. I'm not
I know he
comfortable with
is,
it.
but I can't stop him, so.
How do you feel about raising the minimum wage and supporting paid parental leave?
Quite frankly, if you raise the minimum wage by 5 times, everything else is going to go up 5 times. So it's just a question of adding a zero to everything.
Putting too many regulatory requirements on small business and.
You just did a good red argument as a blue person.
I think she's doing the devil's advocate
Well,
kind of
no.
thing to how the argument always comes back full circle.
Well, we may have ended on the commonality.
I vote for that one.
Yeah.
And so we finish that out, and then we come back. And again, the question is, what did you learn? What did you learn from this?
It was tough, but I was impressed at the thoughtfulness of the response from the blue team to the questions that we had. I also think that if we were in Congress, we'd get more done than our.
I agree. We should do this with Congress. Congress should have to sit and go through this exercise. Maybe they could, benefit from it.
There were a lot of things in our last conversation at the top there. I mean, we had a comment that David made, like, gosh, I can't quite figure out who's on the red team and who's on the blue team. I was a little skeptical coming in, but I think it's been a good experience for me.
I've worked for the Cincinnati Bengals for several years. I don't right now. One of my jobs was in the Bengal locker room, and I heard pregame speech after pregame speech from several coaches and all and everything. And I just sitting there thinking, I'm listening to our discussion, and I said, it's the first time I've been in a locker room where the coach was standing up there saying, now let's get out there and tie.
Even though I felt like most of the topics, there wasn't a whole lot of agreement overall, that there was something usually from like 1 or 2 nuggets. I was sitting next to Layman and we were just kind of like, yeah, I agree on that.
It was a tie.
It was a tie.
You're in trouble now.
Well, even though we did not agree on the overarching issues, there are little things that we could take, and I think that kind of helped me find humanity where I wanted to see it.
Well, and a large building is started with 1 block. So.
That's a pretty important thing you just said, that because we can look at a big overall policy and viewpoint and like, ooh, I'm not buying that. I may never buy that. But are there some bricks in there? Are there some pieces where there's some commonality? And then the other person is more human to me, right? And yeah.
The only thing that's missing is you probably should have invited a news program so they could spin this. Just something else. Because we watch the news and we think we're this far apart, and we talk to each other, and I have all these perceptions about these people and they have them about, and we sit down and talk, and we're not real far apart.
So any other voices in
With
here?
all of the social media and the Twitter thing and the Facebook thing and all the other things that are going on, it's real easy to get in your comfort zone and just spout anything you want to say. But I think what really is great about this is adding the human element. I'm sitting next to my Muslim buddy here, so, I mean, I really mean that I see him as a friend. And my Cuban, a gay guy.
So we got your black woman here too.
My African American.
If we're going to go through all the categories.
My liberals.
Okay, Jorge, are you going to?
I would like to make a comment that these devices, computerization in general, cable news really has changed how we interact as people, and I haven't figured out what the way to do that is, and I have real concern as to what our country's future is, or what the world's future is.
Guess what? Our parents thought the same thing.
Rock and roll.
Sure.
It'll be gone in a few years.
No, I think the bottom line of that is that we'll make it. I mean, we'll figure it out. I mean, we've done it this long, and, we haven't, had a civil war in a long time. So, we'll figure it out. We'll be fine. If nothing else, this gathering proves that I think we'll be fine.
Relieved. If I'm honest. And then, for the first time in the workshop, we had them pair up, red and blue, okay, to share what they had come up with. And by the luck of the arrangements of who was sitting next to who, by no plan on our part, we had Kuyar and Greg, a very strong Christian man, and an Iranian Muslim man.
Right. Yeah, because I tell you right now, it would be in my heart that I would not want to lay down a rug and do that thing. I don't because that's not my way of worshiping.
And nobody expects you to do that, but
and I don't expect you to join in and sing and praise God, unless you want to. But yeah, that's all different. That's an interesting concept. I'm going to throw that one out there first.
They came up with this idea, and it was such a powerful moment.
This is bold.
Okay.
Because and I have permission to call him my Muslim friend, okay? Because we are friends. So anyway, we're going to lay the groundwork, he and I, and we're going to lay the groundwork. And one thing that we're going to do, representing what we just came from, is he's going to attend a church with me, a Christian church. And I'm going to go visit a mosque with him. And we're going to see what each other are doing. And it's not about trying to change him or change me.
Right.
We know that ahead of time.
Right.
It's just how else you're going to get to see it.
That's right. And there were other sharings, and there was laughter, and there was relationship building. And that was about, now these people were becoming civic friends, if you will.
Something that was shocking was they were stereotypes that I never thought of for the other team. I mean, it was so surprising that what we think others think of us, that is not what they think. And what we think others think of us, that's not true.
As a group, I think we need to write to the media, all of them, and we need to say that we, as both blue and red together, are tired of the exaggerations and the falsehoods, and it's got to stop or we're not going to watch.
And so a lot of us talked about paid parental leave. There was a lot of common ground for that. So, let's say that me and my Republican buddy, and there's 2 Democrats, we go to our congressman's office and we say, hey, you know what? All of us are on board with paid parental leave. We think this is a great idea. And we encourage you to support it.
They're not used to actually having people from across the political spectrum come in and meet with them.
That's right.
They're just not.
And I think that's very powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, there have been groups from the Democratic
You would not forget that.
Like rally for non-political issues, things that aren't necessarily inherently political, like we were both talking about, like the drug crisis or
well, the opioid epidemic is a good example.
Where we could come together.
Right, like the opioid epidemic is not red or blue.
No. Right.
It's affecting all of us. It's a public health issue.
Yes.
So deliberately choosing issues that are of great concerns to all of us and that are not yet tribalized.
So I'm saying come together on non-political or possibly transpartisan issues that could be broad, be not partisan.
And then we end with just words of what people are taking with them from our whole experience together. That's how we end.
To be honest, I talked with each of you, before the gathering, and I was a little nervous coming into this because, I know that there's a lot of strong conviction and passion on both sides. And it was like, Is the strong passion going to override the goodwill and the desire to come together? But the goodwill, it won.
I learned to even listen to everybody's emotions, but don't take it in as personal. I understand the differences of everybody and where they're coming from, and it's just awesome.
I wish there was a slogan or branding or something to where this was going on in every state, because I think we have agreed that our country and our needs are much greater than our political backgrounds.
There is a part of me that's sad because there's a part of me that wants to take this to the next level, and I don't know how to do that. You know, unfortunately, my concern is that once we walk out that door, it's done. And I don't want that. That's the sad part, you know?
Okay, thank you.
You know, I just kind of sat here and pondered, thinking about, you know, the times that I have been one of those fire-breathing people who have contributed to the rancor and acrimony. And I'll probably, going forward, maybe handle myself just a little bit differently just because of the people I've met here and the things that we've learned together.
You know, everybody put their effort and they tried hard to, you know, break away from the passion and, you know, try to listen to each other with empathy and try to find the areas of consensus.
I'll go second with an apology that I want to make. Didn't realize it, but I offended someone here. Angela, I think I used a term that I grew up with, and I referred to my black friend that I grew up with as a colored person. It's just, you know, that's what I grew up with it. So I apologize to you personally for that, okay? I'm just going to take everything that I got from this and I'm taking it to the streets. I'm going to change some parts of my attitude toward things and my outspokenness, and I'm going to edit myself a little bit better.
I'm very thankful to have participated in the group, and what impressed me the most was how thoughtful the opposing team, the blue team, was in their thoughts and how they got their points across. I also came to hear Peter sing.
Through the weekend, there were some things that took me off guard and did kind of offend me. It's okay. But I was able, I think, to have conversations with people I never would have had conversations with before. There's not one person in here I don't think is a genuine caring person.
We're all in this together. We all want the same thing. We all want a good economy. We all want. We don't want to be racist. We hate racism. We want our children. We want our families to be safe. We all want the same thing, and it's just how to get there.
The fishbowl of the cameras really had a strong emotional effect on me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's been a profound weekend. I've loved every minute of it. And change starts with one person. And
Amen.
I'm going to start.
Amen. We're a lot more purple than we are red and blue. Some of us are more magenta, and some of us are more teal. But we have to acknowledge other people's concerns and their complaints and understand while we may not get it and we don't agree, it's legitimate to that person. And we have to at least acknowledge that.
What happened was that they changed their views of each other. You know, they formed a relationship with each other of respect so that they can find some ways to work together for the common good. It's not compromising and it's not converting.
The way this weekend affected me is I showed emotions I kept hidden for a long time. This is the first time I've cried in a couple of years, actually. So it brought some emotions out of me that I was afraid to show.
We talked to people this weekend. I was very, very impressed with the dynamics of that. And if you did 20,000 of these across the nation, you would change the world. I truly believe that because people are talking to people.
If more people will have this experience, I think maybe our country could come back together and pull together as one and learn to share and understand it's okay to have opposing ideas. It's okay to be different. We are still human. We still love one another. And that country needs that again.
You know, America has been around for a couple hundred years or so, even more, and these challenges at some form always existed, and American people have always been able to solve these problems. And I mean, this is not, we are going into an uncharted territory. This is not our first presidential election. This is not our first controversial campaign.
This thing should go on and on and on. This what we just did this weekend should not stop. This should go on to the next county, to the next state, and to the end of the city and back out into the country and down every highway. So that's what it should do.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
When we all stood around and we locked arms and sang "We Shall Overcome," it was electrifying.
I still do believe that we shall overcome someday.
There is something about the singing with everyone there, red and blue, with Peter Yarrow and Richard Lynch representing two strands of American music and American values. That's when my tears flowed.
To the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water, this land was made for you and me.
When people are, human beings, are safe with each other, we're built for connection. We're wired for connection and friendship when we feel safe. And that's what happened by the end.
Peter, yo.
That weekend was just the beginning of their work together. Greg, who said, I'm going to take Kuyar to my church, and that has happened.
We are given opportunities to do good every day.
And don't we both have the bad and the good on our side?
Exactly.
We sure do.
Kuyar's now the blue co-chair of the Better Angels Alliance, and Greg visited a mosque with Kuyar.
He was very emotional at the beginning of just worry about could he connect and still be himself. And by the end, it was tears of, yes, I can. Yes, I can be fully me as this strong Christian man and love these other people.
I'm really feeling small right now. I really, usually I feel big, but right now I feel incredibly small.
Greg changed his whole, persona to try to go in a Better Angels direction. Kuyar took a week off from work to ride around on a bus with us to do more Better Angels workshops because we were shorthanded. He just jumped in as a volunteer for a week, and he co-authored with Gene McVeigh an op-ed about Better Angels that appeared in the state newspaper. So he's, in the course of just a few weeks, went from just a guy who had come to a workshop to one of our top leaders in spreading this to other parts of the country. And he and Greg have become friends. It's remarkable to see, and it captures in miniature what needs to happen to the country as a whole.
Now we're in 50 states. We got members in all 50 states. We're going into the college scene, and Kuyar and myself and another Better Angel Noha, we're talking about going into a local high school, and it's growing like wildfire. Now we're spreading.
I'm speechless. I'm just very hopeful that we can get this work continuing both in Ohio and across America, and spread the message to every household in America, that if you want this country to excel, this is what we gotta do collectively.
So it's not just go to the workshop, it's go to the workshop and become active as a red-blue alliance in your community. They meet together, red and blue. They have monthly meetings. They are making outreach to local officials to try to bring them into their discussion.
Hi, I'm Scott Lipp, State Representative for District 62, which is the northern portion of Warren County.
A lot of us decided to keep on meeting and kind of decide some issues that we all thought we could get along with and work with and agreed with. And one of the things that came out of it was about paid parental leave, and I think an effort to try and keep pushing to try and see what we can cooperatively do.
If we all got together and and this idea of cooperation and communication would expand, we could change the world.
We have disagreements, but 90% of the time, everybody's rowing the same direction. So I think Better Angels may be a good fit for me. Maybe we need a Better Angels Columbus branch inside the State House. So
the only way this happens is when people who don't agree with one another about politics talk to one another face to face in the same room.
Well, I'm Kelly Coles, and I'm a resident. I live just outside, still in Warren County, but in Clarksville, so out in the country a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I've been the leader of the Warren County Tea Party since 2010.
I'm Bill Fry. I'm a conservative patriot. I've been with the Tea Party since 2009. Getting involved with Better Angels, I see some things that actually look like they might get done by working together, because our politicians are so divided. 536 folks have got this country split right down the middle. And if that country of 330 million people turned around and looked straight at those 536, said, you're gonna straighten up now, that would change the whole dynamics of this country.
The reason we're divided is the fake media, is these politicians who don't want us to get together, because if we get together, we're unstoppable, we're unbeatable.
One of the most common things that people say after these experiences is that, we're less divided than we've been told. Those are the exact words they use. We're less divided than we've been told. And I think what they mean by that is than we've seen on the media. We're not really that way when we actually talk to one another. We've always had conflict. There's always been advantages in whipping up animosity toward one's political enemies. This is an old American story.
And this old bar is where I used to play. This old barn is where my grandpa prayed. So if you tear it down, it won't be coming back around. There's so much real country charm in this old barn.
I'm hoping that Better Angels can be a spark that starts a counter-cultural movement to take back our country from this polarization.
I hope you like these words I'm saying. Well, then you know this barn's worth saving.
This is a citizens' movement. This is a people's movement. It's not just benefiting from one weekend of activity. It's building something that can influence the direction of the country.